Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Market Mastery, the series where I teach you all about a champion and document my journey on getting them to Mastery 7. Last week we covered Rammus, the hypersonic spiked turtle, and I wasn't actually able to get him to Mastery 7. The series is falling apart pretty fast. Anyway, this week we're dealing with my current favorite jungler, so put on your clown shoes and sharpen your favorite knife. It's Shaco time. Clowns. Yeah, they suck. Even if you don't have a fear of clowns, they're just kind of weird. Like, why do you think there's a literal horror movie about a possessed set of clown clothes that turns a man into a cannibal? No, I'm not joking. Anyway, if you ever wanted to instill the fear of clowns into your enemies, teleporting around the rift and making people hate you with every fiber of their being, then I have just the clown for you. Shaco is a hybrid assassin, able to build both ability power or attack damage depending on the style you like. His kit is well-rounded, letting you slip in and out of fights and often surviving situations you have no right even being in. Shaco's passive is Backstab, making his basic attacks crit for additional damage whenever he attacks them from behind. Every unit has a specific cooldown attributed to them for the Backstab, which scales off Shaco's ability Haste. His Q is Deceive, a short distance blink which stealths him once he reaches his destination. Shaco's next basic attack out of stealth deals increased damage and crits for increased damage if coupled with his passive. Shaco's W is Jack-in-the-Box, a small trap that once placed hides itself for 2 seconds and lasts for 40 seconds or more depending on your ability power. Once hidden, if an enemy unit walks over the box, it reveals itself, fearing anything in its range and firing bolts that scale off of Shaco's ability power. Shaco's E is 2-Shift Poison, which has a passive and active ability. While the ability is ready to be cast, Shaco's basic attack slows his target for 2 seconds. When this ability is activated, Shaco throws a knife that deals magic damage and reduces the target's movement speed. This ability also does extra damage if the target is below 30% health. Shaco's ult is probably the most fun part of his kit, or the most frustrating if you see him as an opponent, and the main reason people hate this clown with every fiber of their being. His R is Hallucinate, which creates a copy of Shaco. The copy can basic attack and be controlled by repressing R or holding the Alt key and right-clicking. If the clone dies, it explodes, dealing damage and spawning 3 mini Jack-in-the-Boxes that activate immediately. So, he has a Teleport, a Trap which can fear you, a long-range slow that deals increased execute damage, and a clone. For the people who permaban Shaco, I really don't blame you. But if the words haven't gotten through to you yet, then let's make it even worse. So we're talking about another jungler. I know, jungle diff, all that stuff. I promise though, Shaco is way more fun than Rammus. First, let's talk about his runes. Shaco actually has 2 different builds he can run, and we'll be covering both in this video. First off, the runes for his AD build. So you run Hail of Blades for the increased auto attack. You're running AD. You're running lethality, actually. So you want your auto attacks to be doing as much damage coupled with your passive, stuff like that. You run Sudden Impact for his Q, just dealing increased damage out of that. Eyeball Collection for extra adaptive damage for every takedown you're getting on a different champion. And then finally you want Relentless Hunter for extra movement speed. This is one of the general runes you want on most junglers, is Relentless Hunter, just because you want to be moving around the jungle as fast as possible. Secondarily, you run Precision, you run Triumph for the extra heal after you get a takedown, and you run Legend Alacrity for some extra attack speed, because you're not really building attack speed items, so getting any extra attack speed is nice. Then for the bottom 3, you run Attack Speed, Adaptive, and Health. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Not much that I really need to go in for that. Then for his AP build, which is a build I kind of run. It's not the normal build, it's more of a me special. You run Dark Harvest for extra low health target damage. You will proc this a lot, especially once you have 2 fold items build. You run Sudden Impact again and Eyeball Collection, but I run Treasure Hunter just for the extra gold that I get on takedowns. I just feel like it's pretty nice. Secondarily, you run Sorcery, you run Absolute Focus because you'll tend to be, since you're slipping in and out of fights, you'll tend to be above 70% health, so the extra adaptive damage is very nice. And then you run Scorch just for the E pokes and the W's. You're not doing extended trades more often, and hopefully you're not really running late into the game, so I feel Scorch personally is the best option. And then for the secondary, you run Adaptive Health. You want more adaptive damage because you're not really worrying about attack speed. You want as much damage as possible, so that's why you run it like that. Then for summoner spells, you really don't need a flash. He has a built-in flash, sort of, his Q, so you want to run Ignite with your Smite. #bars. Banning with Shaco is pretty similar no matter which build you go, you just want to ban the tanks. Some aren't too bad to deal with. Shaco can sort of run circles around people like Jax or Poppy, but otherwise it's no good. I tend to ban Volibear when I play, but other bans like Sejuani or Olaf are totally understandable, especially Olaf. The unstoppable part on his ult means that Shaco basically cannot do anything against that guy. But he's played less than Volibear, so that's why I ban Volibear. Now let's cover his clear and skill order before we get over to the differences in his builds. So Shaco's early clear is extremely strong, especially if you start blue buff. He doesn't ever really need a leash due to the strength of his W, and it's also easy to do 2 camps at once with Shaco, placing 2 boxes of blue buff and then a third on Gromp right before the monsters spawn. Full clearing everything except for Krug is very simple, and thanks to the fear on his boxes, Scuttle Crabs die fast as well. Also, thanks to his boxes having no cap on how many enemies they can shoot, Raptors is a very easy camp for him to do. Whenever you're near enemy Raptors, always check them. If they're there, you can take them extremely fast. Now for skill order, it changes slightly depending on which build you're going, whether it be AD or AP. For his AD build, you go W, Q, E, 2 more points into W, so you get W to 3 points in, and then you E max, because you want the long distance slow, and you want to be able to close the gap faster to get your auto attacks in. With his AP build, the first levels are the same, so you go W, Q, E, but then after that you just start fully maxing W, because it's your main source of AP damage, it's your main source of being annoying, helps you steal camps, helps you assassinate in a really good way. It's just W maxing is better for the AP build, always. So as I mentioned a couple times, the builds differ extremely depending on what style you want to play. I prefer AP, but AD is the more common build, so we're going to cover that first. As the rune suggested, auto-attacking and long distance E's are very important, so you always grab Duskblade for your mythic, as if he didn't have enough ways to go invisible. Build either swiftness or lucidity boots. It's really up to you if you want to move around faster, if you want lesser cooldowns. It's whatever you feel is better. You're not building armor boots or anything, or Sork boots, because you're not building AP. So just between those two, choose whichever one you want. Second item, go Essence Reaver. Shaco goes through a lot of mana, and the Sheen pass was very good for him, as you could throw your E, then use the slow to get a massive auto off. Third item, go Collector. Executes are always great. I really don't need to explain much on that. Fourth item, go Zhonya's. Shaco isn't really made for extended trades, so Stopwatch or full Zhonya's is necessary for team fights later in the game. And lastly, you want to go Infinity Edge for the massive crits. Again, not really much of an explanation needed. This build is made for going in, getting 2 or 3 autos in, and running away. Your typical assassin playstyle with strong movement and good CC. Now for AP. Again, this is my preferred build because it's the most annoying. So you want to start Leandri's, you can probably already see where this is going. Shaco's boxes have no limit to how many enemies they can shoot, so Leandri's will accelerate your jungle clear, letting you stay ahead and farm while also ganking a ton. Take Sorcerer's Shoes for the extra spell penetration, then for your second item, go Demonic Embrace. Again, more burn, your boxes are crazy strong in this build. The rest of the build's more about adjusting to the game. You tend to build between 4 items. So for the last 3 items, there's 4 that you can choose between. It's Cosmic Drive, Zhonya's, Merlinomicon, and Rabadon's. If you're even or slightly ahead, go Cosmic. If you're team fighting a lot and have problems surviving, grab Zhonya's. If the enemy team has a lot of healing, snag Morello's, and if you're insanely ahead, and early Rabadon's will help your snowballing a lot. Almost done. Now for pathing and ganks. Shaco starts Blue Smite in both builds since he isn't really made for extended trades and you always want to be moving faster than your opponent. After your first clear, gank whatever side is pushed in as well as mid. If you get a flash, go check out the enemy jungle for any scraps left, then gank again if the enemy is dumb enough to stay in lane. Shaco can get kills and flashes very easily as his level 3 is really strong. Go back, buy items, and clear and gank some more. With the added durability on dragons a few patches ago, Shaco isn't very good at doing that objective on his own. Often I'll just use my clone to help me do objectives, either by tagging it with me or standing in a choke point that an enemy may walk through. When fighting, you can almost always be aggressive, pressuring opponents to walk away or leading them into traps you set down earlier. When ganking, I was Q in, set a trap behind the enemy laner, and then start attacking. It creates a decent pincer, and can usually guarantee a flash if your ally laner fights with you. Trap placement is very important. Since they go invisible, enemies will often forget where they've been put, and it's easy to incite their pathing towards the traps. The problem is, during later game team fights, it's honestly really easy for an enemy to blow up your box before it even has a chance to go invisible. So that's why the placement can be super important, especially the later you get into the game. Okay, we're nearly there, I promise. Just hang with me for a couple more minutes. Shaco struggles quite a bit in straight up 5v5 team fights. Early game, it's easy to set up boxes when you need and be a nuisance, but no matter which build you go, you're pretty squishy. Late game, your traps are better used as vision or choke point control rather than actually placing down mid-team fights, as they'll tend to get just destroyed before they can even stealth, like I mentioned earlier. It tends to be better to enter team fights once everyone has already started, getting in the middle of the enemy, ulting, then targeting the carries. They may hit you hard, but you hit them just as hard right back. Like any assassin, he's strong from ahead and weak from behind, so don't get frustrated if you're down 3 kills and feel useless. It sorta comes with the role. And with that, we're done. As I said at the beginning, Shaco is by far my favorite jungler to play right now. I rarely ever feel sad playing a game as him due to how annoying he can be, and when paired up with a halfway competent team, his strong kit can easily destroy a team's early game and snowball very, very hard. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope everything was explained in a way you can understand and show how Shaco can be a menace for your LP, not against it. Next week will be my 3 games that give me to Mastery 7, and then after that, well, let's just say that I hope you can count to 4. Like, seriously, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye!